What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 107. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. Sitting here midweek, Austin, Texas. Little bit of a dreary day. Little chilly. The weather can't really decide what it wants to do. And we're just kind of sitting here, talking about the weather, waiting for more Austin FC news. Certainly going to generate some content on our own today. But before we get into all of that, how are you feeling, my friend?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, sir. I'm doing well, same old. It's the downtime here for our favorite club, and we're just trying to pick up any crumbs we really can. And I know we took a little dive into some college prospects, learning more about Division I soccer, which I have never really had any sort of experience with. Seems a little more interesting here. But, I'm looking forward to chatting about it, having a pretty solid week. I know we got a little event coming up with the Fighting Leslie's there. So looking forward to that. Aggie and that whole gang. Hopefully we see some Pollo boys as well. But if not, we'll have a good time. And as always, break down what limited information we have right now and feed it to our degenerate fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. All of our friends here that are tuning into a late November Austin FC podcast, they're just square in the middle of the options have already been released. We've had, trade rumors come and gone, come and confirmed, I guess we should say, and waiting on that roster freeze date to hit and lift that ban on transactions in the league, free agency, the Superdraft, all of that. But like we said, we're going to generate some content here for you guys today. So hopefully some of this is helpful. I guess the first piece where we'll start, if you are plugged into the Austin FC space, you have probably seen the Johan Romaña saga continue to add chapters. There was a segment, and I think it was first shared by We Are Austin TV, but I know our buddy Vanilla Mexican has been doing some dirty work in the rumor streets.
Okay.
So I apologize to our friends there for not knowing exactly who put this out there first, but there was a Paraguayan radio show, I believe is titled Football a lo Grande. And they've got almost 500,000 followers on Twitter. So this is a sizable show. They had a Johan Romaña segment or discussion rather. And the news out of there was that there was a exorbitant purchase price from Austin FC if Olympia wanted to. Well, exorbitant. That could be. Yeah. That is probably agent talk, team talk, front office talk. If it's a Paraguayan outlet, like they've probably got connections there and not so much up here. But so that was kind of bandied about. And then we saw their Twitter account. Actually, I think that they either had Hernan on as a guest or they talked with him, off air. And then they tweeted some quotes from him, which was kind of cool. And called him, a journalist from Austin, which is absolutely accurate. So that was really cool to see. And then yesterday, and I think this was Vanilla Mexican that tweeted about this first. There was a rumor that Johan Romaña was going to potentially be loaned to another MLS side this coming season. And then late last night, We Are Austin TV says sources close to Johan Romaña tell us the information released on the player's future is false. The apparently $1 million price set by Austin FC, loan move to another MLS side, and then they say more details will be released soon, Austin fans. I know you and I sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for the next information to drop about Romaña. Obviously, we are on record. I think you said last week we've beaten this horse to death, for lack of a better term, that we both want Romaña to be elsewhere next year. And hopefully that's salary off our books. But all of that to ask you this, what are your feelings on this continuing storyline with, I think one of the only original Austin FC players left on the roster?
I mean, wow, it's been quite the journey here for what we thought would just be, we got to loan this guy out and move on from it. $1 million for a purchase seems insane. I don't know if that's confirmed or that's just been floating around, like you said.
H said that his source said that was false.
Okay. Yeah, I would have a hard time believing that would be the actual purchase price, particularly when it's like it's clear that we don't really want him here. So
Right.
like, why wouldn't you put it on some sort of, even a opposing team friendly purchase option just so that we can get him off the books? I don't know, man. It just seems like a lot of noise, a lot of chatter, and for me, that makes me believe that we don't really know what we're doing here. We're trying to move on from him, and we can't find anything that's going to stick right now. So I'm a little concerned about it because as we talked about, he's one of the top priorities for me in terms of getting his figures off this book, off our books, even to just an extent, if it can be mitigated with a loan, whatever it may be. But for me, it's this: we have to move on from him.
Yeah, and I would think like loan to another MLS side. To me, I was just like, well, why don't we just trade him then? And just have him go to that other team if somebody else really wants his services in league this year. But again, that Hernan saying that's not the case. I tend to believe our buddy H there. So just something to continue to keep our eyes on. Again, I'm hoping that they have a plan in place. Mm-hmm. That nobody has leaked any information about it yet. And as soon as that roster freeze hits, we're going to get news. Yeah, Romaña's here, Romaña's there. That may actually not be able to happen until his loan at Olympia is up, and that's on New Year's Eve, I believe. So we may be waiting throughout December to really get a resolution on where he's going to be, Austin or otherwise, in 2024.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you look at like an interleague deal, it's like I don't see that happening. Again, like you said, with a trade, that would be something I'd be interested in, even if it's for a minimal return, because the whole point is just to get him off the books. Loaning him to an MLS team seems really dumb to me. I don't know what advantage that would present outside of how we could move his money around, right? Because
if that gives us salary relief, right?
Loans, if that does give us salary relief, and then you don't want to see him develop at another club, because I think it's clear that we're not going to be purchasing him going forward, signing him through a long-term deal. So even if he improves, at what cost is that? So I don't know. It seems like a lot of noise, a lot of chatter, and if that's when his contract is up there on New Year's Eve, I would assume that we're just going to keep hearing stuff.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. And I think, we've talked about the buyout too, and how you and I differ on how we would like to use that. If that is going to be used before the regular season starts, I think he is, number one on the list in terms of most likely. Just because obviously we've talked about the easiest way to improve the roster is at the top, the DP spots, etc. You could certainly buy out other guys, a Hedges, a Zardes, and the like, and open up double, sometimes more than that in terms of salary cap space. But you also have to factor in that the owners are then paying that full salary to those players. And again, maybe that happy medium is Romaña and his, what is it, 450K, something like that. 460,000.
It's too much.
Romaña.
It's way too much. And it's been made clear that Romaña is clearly trying to work some angles here in regard to the stuff that he's posting and the amount of noise we're hearing surrounding him. Yeah. So, I can understand wanting to be in Austin and not in Paraguay and live out this contract, but I don't know if that's going to come to fruition for him.
Yeah, it does seem like he is trying to cause a little bit of a stir.
Right. It just seems like, I don't know if it's he really wants to be here or he has something to prove, but he obviously has made it clear that he's sniffing around Austin. You look back to the Instagram posts a couple weeks ago, which may or may not have been in real time.
Right. I think they weren't. I think
that's just, to me, that's just signaling that this noise and this chatter that's coming out of here is mostly smoke.
Yeah. We talk about some smoke. Apparently, of course, every year we get one new kit, right? We got the Las Voces, the barcode, whatever you want to call it, last year. So Sentimiento on the way out. And the new kit rumors are starting to, kind of seep through the space. I have seen gray, beige, and cream tints are the three different kind of color rumors that I have heard. Of course, that's going to drop officially in February, as they always do with the league and their new kits through the Adidas deal. Our buddy Tim Thompson, the stat man, shout out Tim, did provide me with the information the other day. The official drops of the kits have been on the 15th of February, each of the last 2 seasons. So that should be our target date. Of course, I think each year we've gotten glimpses and rumors and leaks. So probably know kind of what it looks like before then. But I think February 15th, fair enough to expect that to be the official date. Some apparently have seen the jersey. Obviously, I'd imagine there's some sort of like NDA there outside of like, I've seen it. I don't know. But so I guess my question is this: what do you think about those rumors of the color scheme here? And then what would you like to see on the next away kit for everybody's favorite team?
Yeah, I mean, the neutral tones there, the the cream, beige, and tan, you said, or gray?
Yeah, gray, beige, and cream are the ones that I picked up from various Slacks, Discords, Twitter, etc.
Interesting. I really, when you said those colors, I tried to like imagine some sort of color variation and scheme that has some green involved, but
yeah,
green doesn't really work with any of those colors. I feel like maybe gray you could do, but I don't really like a gray jersey. They're just kind of they're really not for me. I would like a beige colored jersey. I think that could be cool. I think with just the culture around this club, the city of Austin, the way that things are, it's a weird city, whatever you want to call it. I would prefer some sort of touch that signifies like our connection to the city. And I don't necessarily know how you can do that. Maybe you do a gray with like black grackle feathers, and then we could all have a grackle jersey. I don't know, man. The fashionista has no say here. We got to see the final product. I can't be judging these things right now, because then I look like an absolute fool. They bust out a beige jersey and it looks terrible. But just getting the wallets ready, because whatever it looks like, I'm gonna get one. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know my wallet. There's gonna be some units leaving my wallet and heading into the Austin FC coffers. I think I don't think this can happen, especially this year for an away kit, because the Las Voces kit is probably already the dark one on the pitch in any matchup. But I want to see, and I don't think this is a very popular color scheme, but I think I would like it, depending on how they rolled it out, a black kit with green accents, numbers, name, whatever it was. I think the black as the primary color, the bright verde as the secondary is something that I would like to see them roll out. I just don't know if we're going to get it here, especially with the rumors being the opposite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, as we can see from the jerseys on your back wall there, you're definitely a fan of the black jerseys, the boring ones, the black and yellow, the black and silver. So, I can see you going for that.
After Deontay's antics this last weekend, I think this jersey might be coming down pretty soon. I've got the Austin FC one queued up. I'm missing the Stuver and the Driussi on there. I've got like 20-something other signatures on that one. My first ever jersey I bought.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so that might have to go up in Deontay's place. We'll give him a couple weeks to kind of right the ship there, but
we'll see.
Any NFL fans might know what I'm talking about there. Let's keep it moving through the Austin news here. And again, just kind of creating something out of nothing. This isn't nothing, I think. The Venezuelan national team announcing a friendly against Colombia at DRV Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. So that is Inter Miami Stadium on December 10th. That's like 2 weeks away, right about there. And so that's within the States. I would imagine Danny is a candidate to play here, and I would love to see him get another opportunity. Of course, he's trying to work on his asylum status here, being able to play wherever with the national team, because Copa America coming up. Obviously, he could play here in the States, but then World Cup, I'm sure there's other, the qualifiers I'm sure he wants to take part in. I think they would probably be considering him for those as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed for the kid that he gets to play here on the 10th. And if we can find a stream, I know I'll be watching that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a gamer. I know he wants to play, represent his country. That'd be sweet. And I'm just thinking about like Danny and all the smoke we've seen around Romaña, and how glad I am that it's not Danny and all this noise coming out about potentially him leaving or going different places. And that's where my mind goes to when you bring up Danny right now, and that, he's in somewhat of a contract negotiation. He's obviously wanting to be paid more, as he should. Yeah. But we have him locked up, and I don't think that's going to be coming through. So outside of answering your question that I would be excited to see him for the Venezuelan national team, I'm just much more happy to hear that, or not hear that, rumors are swirling around him.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
And much more tame Danny talk here than a month ago.
Yeah,
for sure. Although, we're going to go through that. We're going to go through that process again next year, whether it is that second option or not. Shade structures going up at the McKalla Station, that, the Cap Metro rail system there that goes past the stadium. I think that station has been delayed at least twice at this point, but all systems go, it seems like, for opening day in February. So Cap Metro put out a little drone video. You can see there, it's coming together right next to the stadium. So that's exciting, because I know there's a significant number of folks, including, my father, when he's come to a few games over the 3 seasons, takes that train up from his house in Central Austin. And that's a good thing to see for our club and the fans, especially.
It's a very, very good thing to see. And it just makes it much more accessible for so many more people to get up there to go see the games. Glad that we're there, because it's been,
yeah. And, like Kramer Station isn't the worst, but it's just going to be so much more efficient going and coming from the games for those who take the train. So you can go see, we retweeted that video on our Twitter if you want to go check it out and see how the development is coming down there at the station. But just a little, all Austin FC news we will talk about. So
that's right, baby. Transportation, rumors, jersey colors, beige, whatever it may be, you're getting it.
Well, let's, me, just sometimes rereading the roster rules and regulations. We know that Hector Jimenez is the one guy still in limbo out of the guys who had options. And so I was reading through the roster rules here, and I came upon this section, the player professional development rule. Wanted to just take a look at this with you, E, and see your thoughts. I think, there's plenty of smoke around Hector and potentially joining the coaching ranks here in Austin. I mentioned last week, I think somebody has told me before that he does have some sort of coaching license already. So check this player professional development rule out. A club may choose to designate, with prior league approval, to employ 1 player per year in a professional development role. So basically, player coach here must be approved prior to the roster compliance date and last through the full season. Roster compliance, I think, if it's not at the beginning of the season, is like late March, early April. But then definitely nowhere past that. Player must have responsibilities enabling him to develop skills in different parts of the club's business, including but not limited to coaching, scouting, front office duties, and diversity liaison. If the player's professional development role will include coaching responsibilities, he must only have coaching responsibilities with respect to the MLS club's affiliate and or academy, i.e. cannot have coaching responsibilities with respect to the first team. So Hector would be helping out with the academy kids, maybe with FCito. He cannot be on loan to the MLS club's affiliate, so he can't go and be a player coach for FCito next year, just in case, some club tried to pull that off. The player must turn or be older than 25 years old during the league year. Cannot be loaned out. The MLS club must designate a mentor within the club who will guide and monitor the player's development plan and process. Roto Borrell wouldn't be a bad one for Hector to be, under the tutelage of. Failure to provide sufficient progress reports upon request by the league may result in the player losing such professional development role designation and the MLS club being prevented from designating another development role for at least 5 years. The proposed compensation for that player's professional development duties must be commensurate with salaries for similar roles when taking into account the expected number of hours of such duties, including being commensurate with salaries paid to former league player coaches. I was wondering where are the former league player coaches? There have to be some if they're listing them in the roster rules here. Moreover, for professional development roles entered into after the 2022 MLS season is over, the league will not approve compensation that is over $75,000. So with Hector, if he was a player coach, obviously he's going to remain on that supplemental spot, the veteran minimum here in the league, which I think will be around 100K. So I read this as you could tack on up to another 75K onto his salary to be in this player coach role. Maybe that's what they're hammering out. Again, trying to create some content out of nothing here. What do you think about this?
This has to be the only avenue for Hector here. Because there's just no reason where you're going to be like, yeah, we're going to renegotiate him, go out of your way to like make that statement in the release in the presser. I think this has to be the only avenue. We're turning him into Bill Russell here, player coach. That is interesting, man. It's like a little fucking internship while you're a professional soccer player. Right. I don't want Roto to be his mentor. No, I don't want that. Okay. I feel like that sounds like too much time. I don't want Roto to be filling out fucking reports on it if Hector's doing a decent job with the FC2 kids.
Maybe it's Brett Utley in that case. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. If this comes to fruition, I would hope that gets reported, I guess, because I would like to know who that is. Yeah. It's like, what if it's just some random person in the fucking like C-suite who because it says all aspects of the club. So it's like, we're talking marketing, we're talking business, we're talking fucking HR. Like, is all of this on the table here for him? This is strange, man. Whatever we can get him. If we can pay him as little as possible, that's fine with me. This is could be the only avenue I see where we're keeping him. And then we must, if you're going to take the time to do all of this paperwork, to have somebody be a designated mentor, to be turning in progress reports.
I mean, it might just be a penalty. It might just be a one-page deal. It could be very minimal.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like a progress report that if you don't do, you lose the role for 5 years. That seems pretty big.
Yeah.
So like, this is just a strange caveat here in the rules and regulations. Because then, do they really think Hector's going to develop into a really good coach, that we see him being a part of the organization? Like, what is the long-term game of doing that? Because we don't want to just have him in this position and then be able to send him somewhere else, right?
You would think. I would imagine if they're signing him to a position like this and keeping him on the supplemental roster, right? The full-on player coach deal here, that they would have plans then to add him to the front office after this year. Again, if they're trying to use that hey, we're going to keep you there on the supplemental roster for, break glass in case of Hector emergency at fullback, right? And then he gets that vet minimum, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
I think the only way I would be against this is if that additional, potentially 75K counted against the cap or something. I don't think that's the case, but I don't know. Again, this is the only thing I can think of why they would still be negotiating, or if it's just is he going to play or is he going to coach / and or retire, whatever.
I mean, yeah, we definitely don't want an extra $75,000 on the books. And also, I don't really want us to have to shell out $75,000 to get him into this program. That's potentially
make him a coach then.
That's potentially money we could use to buy somebody out, right? That's potentially money we could use to pay the difference in Seba's salary and the actual amount of money he makes, right? This is all available money for something. It has to be, we can allocate it where we want. If you have 75K compensation that we're going to be adding to his contract, I don't know. I would like.
I don't think the way I'm interpreting this is that the compensation for being in the professional development role would not count against your cap and would also not be added onto your salary. Because then we know if he's on the supplemental spot, he's not counting against the cap anyways.
Yeah, but someone's still giving him that extra $75,000, right? It's not coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, sure. I don't feel like this club's hurting for cash overall.
Is right? Our beer tally for the first 3 seasons?
Right? Yeah, we've paid that fucking salary.
You're welcome, Hector. Go learn real good.
Hey, well, we'll keep our eyes on that. Maybe that comes to fruition. Now let's do, I think this is maybe going to be the most fun out of all this nonsense that we've got here today on the podcast. Let's take a look at the Top Drawer Soccer College National Player Rankings and start talking about some potential draft prospects here. Couple things about the Top Drawer Soccer rankings. They've done these for many years now. You can see here on the drop down, 2011 is when their database of rankings goes back to. They release 3 sets for every college season: a preseason, a midseason, and a postseason set of rankings. And so not only did we look a little bit into the current 2023, no postseason ranks posted yet, but based on previous years, those should be coming any day. I dove into the last few years and just kind of compared where Top Drawer's rankings were to not only the draft results, but then, okay, well, how did those players actually do in their year, second year, et cetera. So these rankings, another thing I will note, they shift wildly from year to year. And they only include sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So no freshmen in these rankings. We know freshmen can be put into the draft process through the GA designations, and then we saw them expand to, I believe, freshmen being able to put their name into the draft regardless. I believe that's what we got when they expanded the eligibility parameters a month or two ago. So let's just take a look real quick at last year. I had some notes in their postseason rankings on Top Drawer Soccer. Duncan McGuire was number 1. I guess we can just, since I have it here, we can just go ahead and look at that. So you had Duncan McGuire number 1 in the rankings. He ended up being drafted 6 to Orlando City. And I think it's safe to say that he was the best pick in this class through 1 year. I mean, other guys in the first round who played significant minutes for their first team, Moise Bombito for Colorado. Outside of that, man, there's not a ton here. A lot of these guys signed with the first teams, but then either were loaned out or went down and played at the next pro level. So I'll give Top Drawer a lot of credit here. They had Duncan McGuire number 1, and I think hindsight being 2020, he should have been the number 1 pick.
He should have been, but that just kind of lays, the foundation for where we've been getting some pretty solid picks in our, not first picks selection slots. So there's some talent to be found here, and like you can find some gems. Obviously, Duncan McGuire is a great prospect. We still are all in on CJ Fodre and what he can develop into. So with our limited salary cap, the constraints that we have with our roster, this is an opportunity here with this super draft coming up and the draft coming up where we can try to find somebody who can make an impact, like something, or even somebody to just develop that we can keep off the salary cap. And, when we went through these names and poured through this list and stuff, I started to get pretty excited about, where we could potentially seeing some of these kids land. Yeah,
absolutely. So just a couple more notes on last year's ranks. The first pick in the draft was Hamidi Diop to Charlotte. He was 43rd in the Top Drawer Soccer rankings. Again, these come out just like 2-3 weeks before the draft. So that seemed like a kind of a miss there by Charlotte, and I guess just the league as a whole. Only 3 appearances for Charlotte this year for Diop. I think they probably could have used a Duncan McGuire or even a Peter Stroud, who was number 2 in the ranks, as you can see on the screen if you're watching on the YouTube. This was kind of a weird process for Peter Stroud, and that is Jared's younger brother. He was at Duke for 3 seasons and decided, from what I could find, to stay at Duke through the draft for his senior year, and then left in January, so the month after the draft, to sign a homegrown deal with the Red Bulls, who had his homegrown rights. He played with their academy coming up, I believe, had made some appearances they had a U23 team at one time. So that was interesting. Peter Stroud, number 2 in the ranks, not in the draft, but then he signs the homegrown deal with Red Bulls, and we know they weren't great this year, but made the playoffs through the wild card, and he appeared in 25 matches for them. So again, I think Top Drawer, credit to them in this year, again, going back 21, 2020. Some misses in there, but that's rankings in any sport, right? But McGuire Stroud 1-2 was pretty good last year.
Not bad.
Shakur Muhammad was 4th in the ranks. He got picked 2nd by Orlando, so Orlando went Shakur Muhammad 2, Duncan McGuire 6. Almost like a Luka Samanic, Keldon Johnson, 1929 there, for those who could appreciate that reference. No appearances for him, Muhammad, by Orlando, but 25 appearances and 5 goals for their next pro team, Orlando City 2. Again, Moise Bombito went 3 to Colorado, 11 appearances for the first team. I think you and I both fans of his talent, think he can be a really successful center back in this league. Again, 11 appearances for the Rapids first team. He was ranked 21st. So I think a good find probably by the Rapids there. And then, like I mentioned, CJ was not ranked because he was a freshman. These Top Drawer Soccer ranks are only sophomore through senior. So let's jump back to this year. And again, just midseason rankings posted. We're waiting on that postseason list to be released. Some differences, though, like I mentioned, these rankings seem to swing wildly throughout the year. So I could see some of these guys in the top 5, top 10, not being in the top 20 when we get this next list.
Absolutely.
From the preseason to the midseason, we had Christian Soto, ranked number 1 preseason. He's now 15th. Philip Mirkovic, who was a teammate, I believe, of Jackson Valti and Val Noel at Pitt. He's been in the ranks for 3 years. Was the only or one of the only guys to stay in the top 25 in both of these ranks. He was 16th in the preseason, 12th in the midseason. You had Carmichael 14th in the preseason, now 18th. Goldthorpe 12th preseason, now 21st. You had Wooten here on the second page, who I believe is originally from England. Lawrence Wooten here, 2nd to start the year, now 36th, plays for Ohio State there. So again, these rankings just all over the place in a matter of weeks or maybe a few months. So let's take a look at what we've got here in the midseason. This is the most up-to-date thing we have to go off of here, E. And we are sitting at 5. So I think it's appropriate we just go through the top 5 on these ranks. Again, they're not going to be perfect, but Top Drawer did a pretty darn good job last year at the top. So number 1 is Roberto Ordonez, who's playing at Cal State Fullerton currently, initially. I believe born in Matamoros, south of the border, but grew up in McAllen here in Texas. Yep. So he's got some Texas ties. Sat out last year with a back injury. He had a muscle tear that was caused by overtraining. So kid's working his tail off clearly, but literally caused him to miss that entire year. Took a red shirt. Back this year, was unranked in the preseason. Now in the midseason ranks, the number 1 spot. 9 goals and 10 assists in just 18 appearances, 14 of them starts for Cal State Fullerton. He was the Big West Player of the Year this year and used in a false 9 role, even though the school lists him as a midfielder. I think that's probably more accurate because 10 assists. Clearly he can create for teammates. And so, again, if the draft was today and we saw Ordonez pop up at number 5 for us, I think I'd be okay with that.
I think I'd be okay with that as well. A lot of these names here, I think I would be okay with. It really comes down to the roster construction and where you want to fill stuff with one of these cheaper options. And obviously that lays into, our offseason plans as a whole in regard to the positions we're going to be prioritizing. Like you said, with the prior year, like these rankings can change a lot and fluctuate a ton, which to me just signifies opportunity, because I don't know how many, MLS clubs are using this necessarily per se as, one of their references for how they're going to go ahead and make their selection. But like you said, the number 1 player we had for the preseason, he's now at 36. Ordonez wasn't ranked at all. Now he's number 1, obviously on the back of a great season. If he's playing that false 9 role, I just don't think that is his position right now is what's holding me back from being like, yeah, that's my top pick on the board, because I think we're solid right now with our midfield, and I don't think there'd be a lot of time for him. And I think that if we looked at forward position, like this Matthew Bell kid here, who's number 2, or Shakaluk, they're at 5, as well as the Philip Mrkovic kid. I think that those are some solid options. I know you're high on Garrison Tubbs. I know that you're a fan of Garrison Tubbs there. I can't really complain with that. Looks like an athlete, somebody who could develop hopefully into that type of like Walker Zimmerman type of prospect where it's like he's a big body, he's athletic, he can move, and we upgrade his skill set when he's with us. So we're going to have some options here, and we're going to have a lot of very solid options, in my opinion, with a top 5 pick. It's just going to be the direction that we want to go with in regard to position. And when we've looked at the depth chart that we've made, you look at that 9 position, and we only have G under contract right now. And, there's been speculation about potentially bringing in, a very expensive top flight kind of name from across the way, or looking at some of the available veterans floating around MLS right now, none of which really intrigue me. I think I would much rather have like a Matthew Bell in that third striker position than I would say a Kai Kamara or one of these older players that we could have there. So yeah, we're going to have some options, man. And again, trying to rely on a top 5 pick in this league is much more different than the leagues we come from with NBA.
It just doesn't really happen.
Yeah, you got to hit those in those leagues. And in this one, don't expect a ton of time, a ton of production, a ton of contributions right away.
Yeah.
But there is opportunity to fill out much needed depth with rotational level guys here. Yeah.
And if you hit, and it seems like 2-3 guys every year, and not just in the first round, like there are guys like I think Jasper Loffelson was a second rounder a couple years ago, rotational player for RSL, again, last year, of course, McGuire is the shining example from last year. I think 13 goals in the MLS regular season this year at pick number 6. You mentioned Bell. So, and keep in mind, right, our thoughts, everybody's thoughts should and will change when the GA class is announced, because there's guys there's going to be freshmen there, I would assume. Some of the top freshmen will declare if they get that guaranteed contract. And also keep in mind that, we now have, different from the first year and the second year, we now have a place where those guys can go get 90 minutes of game action at week in and week out with FC2. So again, thinking about that, if you got a guy like Matthew Bell, right? Not even necessarily, he could be your 4th option up top for the first team and start every game for FC2 or compete with Sebas Pino down there. So Bell, like you mentioned, I think is this your top guy out of these 5 after we've kind of dove in, looked at the past statistics, histories of these guys, physical profiles, their team success. Marshall was number 1 coming into the tournament this year, got upset by Stanford, I think in the Elite 8. But Bell from Kingston, Jamaica, just finished his sophomore year. So he's a young kid. He was the 2022 Sun Belt Freshman of the Year and first team All-Conference last year. And then this season, 20 appearances, all of them starts, 10 goals, 12 assists, Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year and All-Conference first team for a second straight time. So that's your number 1 here. That's if he falls to 5, you're jumping. Again, if the draft's today, right? And we're going to have a lot more information. Outlets like Top Drawer will start actually putting out information about these kids once we know who's eligible to be drafted, because it's just not released yet.
I mean, I don't want to get anybody overly excited about.
No, fuck it. Let's do it, man. Come on. It's November.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, for me and me being able to be like, yeah, this is my guy, and wanting it to hold whatever weight that holds. I still want to be able to see him fucking play. Like I haven't physically seen any of these dudes on tape or anything and like perform. Sure. And like, obviously I'm not going to go back and watch every single fucking Marshall game that happened here to like get a full profile on this kid. But right now, it's Matthew Bell and Garrison Tubbs for me. 2 positions that I think that we can add some depth here. And, hopefully make a splash. Like you said, the Duncan McGuire is an outlier. It's an exception to what you can probably get in this draft. But if you get something like that, you obviously take it. You're excited. You're thrilled. So for me, it's filling out depth. And Matthew Bell is my number 1. There we go. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Came around to it. I do want to talk Garrison Tubbs, because I'll say Tubbs is my number 1 out of these top 5. Again, we're going off just what we can scrape together on these internets. Kevin Bonilla at 4. I have just like looking what Stroud did last year. I think Bonilla could be in a similar boat because he grew up in the FC Dallas Academy, originally from Dallas. So playing out there at Portland. And you see also Portland with Jacob Babalai at 9, a forward there. Bonilla, I think, a fullback. So again, that would fit some of our depth, maybe taking that Charlie Asensio spot. And if he's a GA, then fine. I just think he could, if there's something there, a connection between homegrown rights and these college guys where they can just easily get back to the team, the franchise, the system that they're used to, I think there's a chance that Bonilla would maybe just go sign with Dallas after the draft with a homegrown deal, because that would be good business for them, right? And then Shakaluk out there at Akron was preseason 47, so has vaulted all the way up to 5 off his 17 starts, 14 goals, 5 assists for the Zips this year. He was first team All MAC last season, second team All Region. Doesn't look like the MAC awards have been announced for this year quite yet, but you'd imagine that he's probably a candidate for Player of the Year with 19 goal contributions in 17 starts. So, but Tubbs is my number 1 here because I think that we should be attacking this draft with the center back position in mind. We know we can fit them into that Kip Keller spot, both on the supplemental roster and with FC2. And Tubbs, plenty of experience here at Wake Forest. And I'm not just even including his athletic prowess here, which is plenty, right? He's ACC Defensive Player of the Year this year. First team All ACC after being second team last year. He's on the Mac Herman Trophy watch list preseason, which I believe is the award given to the best college player in the country. Top Drawer Soccer preseason, third team best 11, preseason first team All-American from College Soccer News. So this is a kid coming into the year, right? Was high profile, expected to be extremely successful. And he did that, ACC Player of the Year. But this kid has also been All ACC academic team all 4 years. He was the Wake Forest Male Freshman of the Year. Academic honor roll in the ACC all 4 years. So the kid clearly attention to detail on and off the pitch. You need that type of stuff, I think, to be at center back. You need to be that attention to detail has to be there. And then on the personal side, I mean, this kid earned the Pythagoras Award for Excellence in Math and Distinguished Learners Award in Science in high school. His father, Craig, played baseball and basketball at Miami of Ohio, and his mom, Yolanda, was on the track team at Wilmington College. So coming from the athletic, you mentioned athletic family, right? Success in the classroom, on the field, started all 18 appearances, captain of Wake Forest this year, 5th ACC Atlantic Division title in 9 seasons, mentioned ACC Defensive Player of the Year, 7 clean sheets for the Demon Deacon backline this year, including 4 in conference. And had a game winner against Campbell this year. 4 career goals, all of them game winners. Garrison Tubbs is my guy. If he's there at 5, I want him.
I sounds like a stellar individual. Look, man, we didn't pick up the Kippy option, right?
Yeah.
So I could see that being a spot that we want to go ahead and target here in this upcoming draft. Obviously, Kippy didn't work out. That hasn't been great. That's left a sour taste in my mouth, particularly now that we've moved on from him. It would suck to potentially get burned again. But this Garrison Tubbs kid seems like just a high-quality individual. Again, we haven't seen these dudes play soccer on film, but he just seems like a really good kid. Got his shit together. So I wouldn't be mad at that. And, before we jumped on here, we were looking at salary caps and figures and names and just burning that shit into our heads. And you look at that back line now and you have Leo locked up for like 600 something K. You have Julio locked up for like 600 something K. And Hedges is like 900, correct?
Yeah.
So, the bill for that center back rotation there is already pretty steep.
And Romaña is still technically on that cap sheet. 460.
Thank you for reminding me. Garrison Tubbs, I like it. I wouldn't be mad at it, man.
So again, trying to create something out of nothing. There will be much more of that in the weeks leading up to the MLS Superdraft, which again, pulling up that off-season calendar that we saw about a month and a half ago, that Superdraft, 2 p.m. Central on Tuesday, December 19th. So about 3 weeks away from the Superdraft. Maybe have to do a live stream during the draft. I don't know. Why not? Yeah. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we could.
Middle of a work day there. Let's move on. Little academy update here. The U13s, I want to say last week, were playing in the Copa Rayados tournament in Houston, which is, I think, a premier soccer something partnered with, a company that partners with Rayados, right, Monterrey, to put on these youth tournaments around, I think kind of the south and maybe south of the border as well. But the U13s, I think they had group play or pool play in that tournament. They won their first two 4-0 and 3-0. Shout out Tyler Elson. Awesome header off of a corner. I got to see that highlight. And then an assist for the second goal. So did well in that tournament, at least to get started. The U12s lost in the semifinals of the Copa Rayados to FC Dallas 6-3. So a barn burner there. And damn you, FC Dallas. But hey, getting to the final or semifinal, right? Final four teams there. Nothing to hang your heads about. The U13s lost in the semifinals as well to FC 23, which is a club team out of Northern California. 1-1, 8th round of PKs is when they bowed out there. So heck of a battle from the U13s. U14s lost in the semis as well to the Dynamo 2-0. So lots. I mean, there's just I can only imagine if some of these kids come up through Dallas and Houston and Austin and just, maybe get homegrown deals with those teams. Can you just like playing against guys for a decade? We're going to see some of that in 8, 9, 10 years from now, right?
I was just thinking about how cool that must be to just be like repping the jersey of a MLS club and like that kind of bitter rivalry that that exists in like, youth sports and how badly those kids always want to win. Man, yeah, that's awesome. It'd be great story, great content to see like a couple of the Dynamo kids up there at the first club, a couple Austin FC kids up there at the first club and duking it out. Very cool. Congratulations to all those dudes, even the ones that bowed out. Nothing to hang your head at. We keep moving on, baby.
Yeah, we move on right to this weekend where Austin FC hosting the El Arbolito Cup starting Friday morning for the 12s, 13s, and 14s. So have a little schedule here. Again, I don't know if this is open to the public or not. I imagine it is. You walk in just like a parent, cheer on the young guys here. U13s early morning on Friday against FC Cincinnati, and then again at 2:30 against the Rapids, and then U13s as well on Saturday, Orlando City and Chicago Fire U13s coming to town. So if you're looking to get, some soccer action here in November where we have nothing from the first team and nothing from the second team, the academy going strong, and I'm sure all those guys would appreciate some support. So that is out there at the St. David's Performance Center. I imagine some of the games will be at the pitch, if not all of them. So that taking place starting on Friday this week in the El Arbolito Cup. Good luck to all of the Verde and Black Academy teams taking part.
Let's go, boys.
MLS playoffs, round 2 concludes, and some very entertaining matches. We lose 2 of our winners. Philly goes down on a controversial offside call. So I want to start there. There's been talked about plenty, especially in the national outlets, but what were your thoughts on that? I think both of us in the camp that it's offsides.
It's offsides. It's really bad for the league. It's a bad look. I really, and then, for them to send out something that's like, well, here's this angle that we looked at. And it's like, yeah, well, that's the wrong fucking angle. Like, not how any of this works. Garrison Tubbs will come in, draw the Pythagorean triangle, include all of the angles. We'll have that next year, Drew Fisher, you fuck. Look, it's a bad call. It's a missed call. It looks terrible. It's bad for the league. VAR is in place. How do we get this wrong? You can't get it wrong, man. This is there's too much at stake to be getting this shit wrong. And, we always ask for damn near perfection. from players and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this ref bubble where it's like things go on and I don't expect them to be perfect ever.
Right.
Like,
right.
Of course not. They're human, just as I don't try to hold any sort of player or coach to an impossible standard.
Yeah.
But you cannot get this wrong when you have VAR in place. Like, this is why it's here. Like, again, it just can't happen. It can't happen.
And it was so quick too. The review was like, I've seen them review things that were more obvious one way or the other and take 5 times as long.
Bro, I watched the Kings Warriors game last night, and they took a 4.5 minute stoppage to review a ball that just got deflected out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with that. Like, that's
right
over the top in itself. But like, this is a fucking playoff game
and season-ending goal. That was at the death.
It can't happen. I'm furious for Philly fans. Those aren't fans you want to upset. So it's just a bad look, man. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and like it's not all on the officials and the replay review official, I think, because it's on the league to install more camera angles.
Yep.
If we need a camera on every yard of the pitch, then do it, man.
Yeah,
like let's get things right. And I also think it opens to, like, I know there's been conversation kind of in the global soccer community, maybe somewhat minimally, but that changing the offside rule might be beneficial for soccer in general, to where the rule that I've seen proposed is that you have to have daylight between the offensive player and that last defender. So you'd have to be truly past the back line to be offside, because I think the point that gets through to me is, man, if your shoulder is offside under the current rule by a centimeter, what advantage are you actually gaining, especially if that's 40 yards from net? So it'd be interesting to see if that gets adopted, and FIFA has been fairly malleable, I think, at least since the pandemic, right? Keeping the 5 sub rule globally, I think was great for the game, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So like maybe that helps. Again, like I know there's going to be soccer purists that hate any sort of change, and I get it. But I think anything that slightly ups the amount of scoring, which a change like that would do, I think that could be just good for the game.
I agree. I can see it from both sides. I don't necessarily know if I'm for it.
Yeah.
It's in tough. Those types of situations where it's like, it's a minimal amount of space between the defender and whatever body part is offsides for the offensive player. I just don't think MLS can't be the one to do it, because we've already been given the gimmick moniker. We had the straightaway shootout penalties from half field where you're charging the guy. So like, this is like XFL kind of like putting in a rule and being like, oh, NFL, you should do this.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So, MLS can't do it. I don't know if it's a good thing. I do know it's a bad thing when you get these calls wrong.
Yeah, especially in the do or die moments of a playoff match. Ending Philadelphia's season on that call. Even if it's 3 inches offside, which I think is what the football trigonometry guy said, it's still offside, it's still wrong.
Yep.
So Cincinnati will host the Columbus Crew, who took down the Fighting Felipes on the road there. And then LAFC gets past Seattle on the road. I think we're going to see a lot of change for the Sounders this offseason. And Houston gets the dub over Sporting KC. So Houston travels to LAFC. Columbus travels to FC Cincinnati. And, for the units, at least our winners, right? Let's go Crew. And no, I'm not going to say it, but
fuck that bet.
Yeah.
Fuck that bet. I'm an LAFC fan.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we don't have any problem losing units. Don't worry.
Yeah, for sure.
I do have a problem with Houston Dynamo winning a cup.
Well, maybe we can get some units here, off some Dynamo sorrow this weekend. Last week, the 3-way MLS parlay did not go our way, but NFL 3-team teaser comes through. How about them Steelers? 400-plus yards, first time in 58 games? Matt Canada was the problem.
58 games?
58 games. And he's gone for 6 days, and they do it first chance they could.
And they only scored what, like 17 points?
Yeah, something like that. A couple red zone turnovers will do that. You want to talk about officiating. That was a touchdown for Deontay. But again, the way he reacted after that, not great.
Not good.
So I'll toss it to you. We're going to do another NFL 3-team teaser here. Those are hot this year. We're going to stay away from the 6, the 7 teams, etc. But I know you are trying to get back on the horse here with the MLS parlay. So tell me where you're going.
I am going to the home teams, FC Cincinnati, LAFC, 2 clubs that have been dominant throughout this season. Obviously, FC Cincinnati hosting the Columbus Crew. You get that at plus 120. LAFC hosting that orange team, they're minus 175. You pair it together, make a good goulash. You get it at plus 245. Lock it in.
I like it. Cincinnati and LAFC to win, plus 245. And again, with that 3-team teaser win, we went from negative 45.26 units to negative 42.09. So there's progress for last week. Let's see if we can do it again in the NFL streets. I'm going to the Meadowlands, or where is the new Jets Giants Stadium? I guess it's not so new anymore. Is it in the Meadowlands?
Isn't it still Meadowlands?
I think you're probably right. New stadium though, right? From the old days.
Oh, it's a dump out there, man.
Well, we're going to go out there and look at the Falcons visiting the Jets. That game total is at 34 even right now. Again, we're going to do this 10.3 three-way teaser here. So we're going to take the under of 44 on the teaser. How does that go? Who scores the points?
Drop it to 24 and take the over.
No, I know. That still might go under. These teams suck. Tim Boyle's starting again.
Yeah. The only thing that can get you is defensive touchdowns here and some sort of penalty, but I don't see any sort of 44-point
right?
game.
The Jets defense is still going to hold up against this Falcons team and Desmond Ridder, I would think. So under 44, I feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go out to Green Bay. Shout out to Jones. Chiefs coming to town, taking on the Packers. And we're going to take that total of 42 and tease it down to 32 and take the over. Chiefs could score 30 points in this game alone. So I like the over 32 in that one. And then we're going to Philly. Tough beat for them, obviously, on the MLS side. Great beat for them on the NFL side last week. They are 3-point home dogs to the visiting 49ers here, which is a little bit interesting. But I will take that and raise it up to Philly plus 13 at home. Mix all 3 of those together, minus 120. We're going to put another 5-unit power tool hammer on there. What do you think about that one? Trying to go back to back.
I like it. Look, like you said, the Falcons, Jets, they both suck, so expect them to suck. Philly, I can't see them losing any sort of home game by more than 2 scores. Like that's
right?
That's just
I'm kind of surprised they're not at.
I'm shocked that they're
3.
3 seems crazy.
So that's neutral field. You're talking 4.5 to 6, probably.
Right? What if they were in San Francisco? You got them as a touchdown dog?
Yeah.
Right? That's just how good Brock Purdy is, man.
Yeah. I guess Lane Johnson could still be out too. But again, plus 13 feels pretty good. I
don't know. Niners are sexy right now.
Yeah, sure.
Eagles just been doing it and beating ass.
Well, and it's just never, it's always tough to be putting in the bets on Wednesday for the Sunday games. But also, man, you think about Philly. You remember who their one loss is to? Do you remember who they lost to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the Jets.
Zach Wilson. Unreal.
Yeah, no, crazy. I mean, that's like we said. Like, how could the Jets score X amount of points in that game? They got the pick 6. They had 3 tips for interceptions. Yeah, dude. Did you see Brandon Graham talking shit?
No.
Oh, it was so good.
I have to look it up after this.
He's on the line. They're about to snap it. It's on the drive where they got to get the ball back so Hurts can go drive it down.
For the field goal?
Yeah, well, they thought, the field goal they gave up, but then they go get the touchdown in OT.
Yeah.
And he's just about to, they're about to snap, and he goes, "You guys must not know Jalen Hurts like I do." And then just,
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Dorian Thompson-Robinson in concussion protocol, of course. You know who's taking QB1 snaps in Cleveland this week in practice?
LeBron?
Joe Flacco.
Oh my God. Elite. He's the Will Bruin of NFL.
Yeah, that's a good comp. That's a great comp there. Shoot, if he plays like Will Bruin did this year, Cleveland might win this week. All right, everybody. That's enough NFL talk. That wraps up episode 107 of the North End podcast. If you've got 5 extra seconds to rate, review, and subscribe to the pod, wherever you get your podcast, we would greatly appreciate it. And of course, drop the North End podcast to all of your Austin FC brethren. Help us grow the podcast in that fashion. We would thank you for it. And then, of course, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Help us grow the podcast in that manner. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And, of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean. In the college prospect deep dives of the North End. We will be back next Wednesday, recapping everything that happens in the Austin FC universe, talking about the MLS playoff conference final results, making some bets, more nonsense, and the like. Everything you have come to know and love about the North End. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Until then, he's E. You got something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's Spotify Rap Day. It's one of my favorite days.
That's right. Good call.
It is one of my favorite days of the year. I always look forward to Spotify Wrapped. Gets me the numbers. I can dive into all of the trap music that I listen to. 4 years running, Draco the Ruler, number one listen.
4 years running?
0.03% of the population. Let's go. But I do want to say, if we're in your Spotify Wrapped, because I looked at mine for my podcast, and I obviously have listened to every single episode more than once, most of the time. And I was only in the top 7%. So if you're if you're up there on the North End podcast Spotify Wrapped list in our top 10 or whatever, let us see it, baby. It's cool. Look, because I love Spotify Wrapped Day. It's I fucking love it. So then when I saw my thing and it's like, oh shit, there's us on Spotify Wrapped, I was like, all right, got a little tingle in my bingle.
Now, I wonder if Jesse is like top 0.01% going back and listening to the entire catalog. Shout out Jesse, shout out Poyo, shout out Ethan, shout out Liam, shout out Nikki, shout out Vanilla, already posting their Spotify raps with the North End podcast in there. I love seeing the ones that like top 4, all Austin FC podcasts. Yeah. Those are our people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. We'll see you back here Wednesday. Until then, I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.